Imagine this. You open a history book, flip through the pages, and notice something strange. The same patterns repeating again and again. Different years, different faces, different companies, but the same mistakes. And when it comes to the stock market, there's one rule that never changes. History always repeats itself, especially when people choose to ignore it. Every generation of investors believes they're smarter than the last. They think technology makes them safer, that information makes them wiser, and that modern companies are simply too powerful to fail.
And yet, when the bubble finally pops, everyone acts surprised.
They ask the same old question: how did we not see this coming? Legendary investor Sir John Templeton captured this perfectly when he said the four most expensive words in the English language are, "This time it's different." But decade after decade, investors keep whispering those same dangerous words to themselves. Today we're going back to a bubble almost no one talks about anymore. But its lesson might be more important today than ever. When it burst, the market fell 50%. Iconic companies dropped 60%, 70%, even 90%, and investors waited 8 long years just to break even. This story isn't about the dot-com crash or the 2008 crisis. This is the forgotten story of the Nifty 50 bubble of the early 1970s. To understand how it happened, you have to step into America. In the late 1960s, the country was booming. Factories were running nonstop. Suburbs were growing fast. Jobs were plentiful. Wages were rising. And confidence was everywhere. From 1945 to 1970, the stock market soared more than 350%. Money was flowing. Optimism was high. And the idea of a major crash felt impossible. During this era of unshakable confidence, a new investing strategy took over, something called one decision. Stocks. Investors believed certain companies were so dominant and so perfect that you only needed to make one decision: buy them and never sell. These stocks became known as the Nifty 50, featuring giants like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Polaroid, Xerox, American Express, IBM, and Johnson & Johnson. These weren't just good companies. These were the superstars of their time: the Apple, Google, Nvidia, and Tesla of the 1970s. Everyone believed they would grow forever. Analysts described them as bulletproof. Pension funds loaded up on them. Everyday investors treated them like guaranteed money machines. And slowly, a dangerous thing started to happen. Logic disappeared. When investors fall in love with companies, they stop asking questions. They ignore risk. They justify outrageous prices. And that's exactly what happened. Coca-Cola traded at 46x earnings. Xerox at 49x, McDonald's at 86x, and Polaroid at an insane 90x earnings. Meanwhile, the rest of the market sat at a normal 15x. But investors didn't care. They said quality companies deserved any price. They said earnings didn't matter. They said these companies could never fall. By 1972, the Nifty 50 had grown so large they made up 45% of the entire U.S. stock market. At that point, it wasn't investing anymore. It was hero worship. But then the world changed almost overnight. Oil prices suddenly quadrupled. Inflation surged to 11%. Unemployment doubled. The U.S. abandoned the gold standard. The economy slowed. And the stock market collapsed 50%. The Nifty 50 stocks, the so-called perfect companies, weren't just corrected, they were crushed. Coca-Cola fell 60%. McDonald's dropped 70%. Polaroid collapsed 90%. Xerox was destroyed. Investors who believed these companies were untouchable watched their retirement savings evaporate. And the worst part? The market didn't recover for 8 years. Imagine buying at the top in 1972 and not seeing your portfolio break even until 1980 or 1981. Millions of investors learned a painful truth. A great company is not always a great investment. And if this story feels familiar, it should. Mark Twain said, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes." Back then, the Nifty 50 dominated nearly half the U.S. market. Today, their modern replacements, the Magnificent Seven, dominate the market the same way. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, and Nvidia. Just 7 companies now make up 36% of the entire S&P 500, the highest concentration since the early 1970s. And the valuations? Google and Meta at 28x earnings, Amazon at 35x, Apple at 37x, Microsoft at 38x, Nvidia at 50x, and Tesla at 247x earnings. These companies are innovative, powerful, and industry leaders. But so were Polaroid, Xerox, Avon, Kodak, and General Electric. Every generation believes they're the exception. Every generation thinks they've found the companies that can grow forever. And every generation eventually learns the same lesson. No company is too big to fail, and no stock is too good to crash. Today, we're living through another top-heavy market. The biggest companies are getting bigger. Investors are ignoring valuations. And once again, the world is whispering the most dangerous sentence in finance. This time it's different. But the truth is simple, it's never different. It's never special. It's never immune. The market doesn't punish confidence, it punishes overconfidence. It punishes the belief that growth lasts forever. And it punishes investors who ignore the lessons of history. Because in the end, history is undefeated. The only real question is, are we paying attention? Or are we about to repeat the same mistakes all over again?